My name is Oscar, and in this video, I'll explain the fundamentals of how a software program declares its variables. When you declare a variable, you're just acknowledging that an observation has been made. If you remember something like high school algebra, where you had x, y, and z as your variables, this is the same idea. But the name that you give to that variable instead of x might be something like rock or tree, or let's say for this example, number of trees, say the number of trees in your yard or in a park. Doesn't matter what the value is just yet, it needs to be declared first that it exists. Our brain kind of uses language and the words that we know to come up with these ideas for us. But the most important reason for doing this in a software program is so we can reference the variable later. We can reference our number of trees further down in the sequence and set it equal to whatever it is that we want, 4, 5, 1,000. Variables are much more useful when they do have a value. We can declare a variable and immediately give it a value on the same line of code. Or we can declare it first and then assign its value on a different line executed later. So let's say we know the number of trees in the yard is 3. If you say for some reason that the number of trees in the yard is blue, your program technically allows for this, but it wouldn't make much sense and your program wouldn't really be very useful to anyone if it's not describing something that makes sense. It's important that the language that you use in your programs reads naturally in this sense if you expect it to be improved upon by people. If you're the only one who knows what a variable means just because you wrote it, it's not going to be very useful for others. If you have strong language skills, it's actually incredibly useful to leverage your knowledge of grammar and vocabulary to declare your variables fluently. If you give clear intention of what you are designing the program to do, you might call your variables number of trees in the yard or number of oak trees. Those might be more accurate descriptors for your purposes. Another way to think about a variable is to imagine storing things in an empty box. You can throw any label you want on the box, put whatever you want inside of it, but a box labeled water might contain a bunch of plastic water bottles or maybe a couple of large water jugs. You decide what the most accurate label might be. Jugs of water could be your label or water bottles. The label on the box is your variable's name, and whatever you put inside the box is its value. You can close the box up and take it wherever you want throughout your program. You can always open it back up and put something else inside. You get the idea. Your variable boxes remain accessible to your program for future use and represent a fundamental form of data storage. We'll get to that later. But for now, don't overthink how simply this relates to your mind and your senses describe the world around you every single day. The sun is hot. My eyes are open. That tree is tall. These are names and values for variables that our brain is just using to represent ideas. Declaring a variable is just a program-friendly way of saying this is that, where this is something you can make sense of, and that is a value that makes logical sense to relate back to the name you chose.